God wants to use you right where you're at. Make sure that you stay focused on Christ because his best is the best. He goes up, he smacks it. All of a sudden I see the ball going right towards my wife. Rachel's standing like over to my left and I see out of the corner of my eyes, all of a sudden I just hear water splash on the floor. Right underneath Rachel. Literally, Rachel's going into labor. Her water just broke. And also, bam, they dropped this lid on top of me, slid me in a bag, drove me down the road. All right, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Jean B podcast. I'm super excited to have you guys with me again today, and as you can tell, I'm back in my spot that I recorded the first video. So the last one I did at my mom and dad's house. It was super fun. Thank you guys so much for watching that one, for interacting. I got texts from you guys saying you should talk about this, you should put this in a video. Again, I'd love to have more ideas and thoughts from you guys about fun stories. If you have a video or a picture or a memory that you want me to share, anything, I want to make sure that I'm catering to my audience and having fun with you guys. And so I really appreciate you guys watching the videos, and I'm excited to be making another one. It's Thanksgiving today. I'm going to my family's house in a little bit, but I thought before I do that, it'd be fun to record a podcast because I haven't had a chance to do one yet this week. And so it's Thursday morning, 11 o'clock or something like that. Happy Thanksgiving to you guys. Let's go ahead and get into the video. All right, so this week has been a wonderful week. I said that I haven't had a chance to hop on the camera and do a podcast yet. It's been a busier week, but an absolutely wonderful week. I've had time to connect with different people on our church leadership team. I've had time to connect with students that are part of our youth ministry. But then my favorite part of the week probably was Tuesday. We as a church do this thing every year called Thanksgiving food boxes, and most of you guys who are watching this probably go to New Life Church. Some of you guys might not, and to all those people that don't go to New Life Church, hello, or who don't know like what I do on a regular basis, thanks for watching. But we do this thing every year as a church where we get together and we pack like tons of boxes to just give to families for Thanksgiving or for like the holiday season, because times can be tough. I mean, you got to buy Christmas presents for everybody. There could just be different seasons of life that you're going through. You could be busy and like literally never even have time to go to the grocery store. So we try to bless families in our community. And so that was this week. We as a church packed 57 boxes. And I'm saying as a church, it's not just like the pastors that did it. It's the people of the church that donate their time, their money, their resources to be able to do that. And so it's a huge blessing, and we're so thankful that we got to do that. So I was doing that on Tuesday, and it was an absolute blast. And to top it all off, at the end of the night, my wife and I got to go deliver to a family, and it put a huge smile on my face. It was really, really fun to connect and to see the smile on the kids' faces. And so it's just a huge blessing to be able to do that kind of stuff. And so that was one of the things that I've been up to this week. Yesterday, what did I do yesterday? Yesterday, I hung out with some youth students, and then I went and I played some volleyball for my friend Caleb's birthday party. That was really fun. Well, it wasn't really a birthday party. Caleb doesn't really like to say, he's not a huge celebratory guy like that. So it wasn't his birthday party, but you know, it was his birthday party. So anyways, it's been a good week. I got a couple fun stories that I want to share with you guys this week. Okay, so the first story that I want to talk about, or the first thing that I want to talk about for this week, is the fact that my wife and I are literally 2 weeks out from having our baby. So you guys know my wife's name is Rachel, and we're 2 weeks out from having baby boy. It's the 26th of November right now, and his due date is December 9th. And so yesterday was 38 weeks. And so it's like right around the corner, and I am like beyond excited for it. People keep coming up to me, how many more weeks? I'm like, 2 more weeks, or you know, it's 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And it's to that point, you know, like when you go onto your calendar app on your phone where you don't have to like scroll to see like the due date, like it's like all within like that little chunk, and that just gets me super excited. And so anyways, I'm beyond pumped. I'm beyond excited to be able to be a dad, and I cannot believe that it's 2 weeks around the corner. 2 weeks away, 2 weeks around the corner. Anyways, I'm super excited. But here's the story that I got to tell you guys about all this that's super messed up. So as I was saying, last night I was hanging out with my friend Caleb. I'm celebrating his birthday, and we're playing volleyball last night, which is like my favorite sport to play. I absolutely love volleyball. So I was goofing around last night saying like, yeah, somebody should try to hit the volleyball right at Rachel's stomach so that she can go ahead and get that baby out of her, because I am ready to have my baby. And so, well, I'm ready for her to have the baby. I don't do anything. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but the guys actually, they don't have the baby. It's actually the girls who do that. So I'm really excited for that, right? So I'm being silly, right? I obviously don't want them to hit my wife in the stomach, if you couldn't already tell that I was kidding. And so I'm goofing around saying all this stuff. So there was one thing that happened before the story I'm about to tell. There was one point where my friend Caleb, so if you know Caleb, you know that he's just like, you know, an absolute stud. And he's a beast on the volleyball court and pretty much every other sport. He's really good at ultimate frisbee. And anyways, I love that guy. So if Caleb spikes the ball or anything like that in your direction, you literally like you crumble. Like it's like the scariest thing in the world. And so we're playing, and all of a sudden Caleb gets up and he smacks it, and I'm on his team, right? So I'm like rooting for him in this moment. I'm like, let's go. You know, he goes up, he smacks it. All of a sudden I see the ball going right towards my wife, and I'm like, this is not cool. And like when I say this is supersonic speed, I'm not joking. If you know Caleb, you know that these things are like missiles. And Rachel literally, well, she caught it. Like, right, it was going for her face, not for her belly. It was going right for her face. And dude, like that would have hurt. Like obviously it probably wouldn't have affected the baby unless she like fell over and like was like, where am I? And then she forgot she was pregnant. I don't know. But point being, like she literally caught it when it was like right about to hit her in the face. And Caleb was freaking out because he thought he accidentally hit her. I was freaking out. It was like really intense. But I mean, I swear, like something about like a mama bear, like she hasn't even had our son yet, but like she's already got that just boom, like she's got those super fast reflexes, which honestly I'm kind of jealous of, because I'm actually going to tell another story in a little bit about how I always wanted Spidey powers as a kid, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So the second story from last night, because like I said, I really am excited to have our baby boy. And they say that like physical activity and stuff is a good way to like help get your body ready to have a baby. And so she's been like wanting to go on walks. She's got like this pregnancy ball. It's like one of those yoga balls that you can like run at people with and belly flop them and make them like launch into the ground that you see on YouTube.
Let's go.
Well, she's got one of those too, and she's like bouncing on that and stuff. So she's like staying active. And so I'm like, you know what? Tonight's the night. Like we're going to play volleyball for a few hours, and my son is going to come tonight, and it's going to be awesome. So that's what I'm thinking that's going to happen, right? Well, it gets to the end of the night. Baby still hasn't come yet. So I'm like, well, why did we even come? No, I'm kidding. We had a blast. So we're getting ready to leave. I'm leaning up against this fan, talking to my buddy Mitchell. And all of a sudden, Rachel's standing like over to my left, and I see out of the corner of my eyes, all of a sudden, I just hear water splash on the floor, right underneath Rachel. And she's like standing there, and like she's got like water in her Crocs, and she's like, oh, what? And like all of a sudden I hear some of my other friends like, oh my goodness, it's happening. And then James Schumacher, the guy's house that I was at, he's a great friend of mine and mentor, and I love him a ton. So he all of a sudden, and he's a dad, so I'm like trusting him. He goes, John, go start the truck. And I'm like, okay. So literally Rachel's going into labor, her water just broke, and I'm like, what in the world? And so I start like running towards the truck. I grab my keys out of my pocket, and then I'm like, wait, should I grab Rachel before I go to the truck? So I turn around and I'm like, wait, what do I do? What do I do? And then they all start laughing. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So it was a joke. Brenda Schumacher, the other James's wife, she walked past Rachel, and they had this all planned out where they were going to scare me that night or surprise me and pull a prank on me and dump water on the floor right in front of Rachel. And I fell for it hardcore. Like, I know I'm a gullible person, but like this joke also was like next level. Like, it was a very good prank, and I was super excited. So my heart was like, you know what I mean? And anyways, long story short, didn't have the baby last night. Came home, had a great night's sleep. Really sore actually when I got home, but I did not have baby boy last night with Rachel. So anyways, they got me pretty good on that one. But Brenda, if you're watching this, I just want you to know that I'm gonna get you back for that prank, okay? Okay, so the next story that I have for you guys today, I'm just kind of like making these up. I have things like happen throughout the week. So some of them are funny stories, some of them are serious stories. I want to be able to like bring like laughter, but also like information and insight on different things. And so I kind of got a funny story, but also it kind of gave me like a cool little like thought, I guess you could say. So this time of the year, Rachel and I in our house, like the mice are terrible. Like I think my wife literally should start a TV show called like Mouse Slayer, and put it on like HGTV or Discovery Network or whatever. I don't know, one of those stations, because she literally has probably killed, I don't know, anywhere from like 25 to 30 mice in the last 3 months. And we actually like had killed a ton, and then it slowed down all of a sudden, and then we kind of got like a heat spike again in Minnesota, and now it's getting colder again. And for some reason that heat spike made like the mice come back out again. And so we've been killing a lot of them here recently, and she's like, and I'm sure she loves that. No, she doesn't love it at all, and I don't love it either because it's just disgusting. But point being, she's been killing a ton of them. She's an absolute champ, and I really think that we need to get some GoPros strapped in the closet, and she can like show how she kills them. But that's a story for another day. I'm gonna be reaching out to Discovery Network to see if they'll do that. But she's been killing a ton. The other night she went into the closet and she saw one that was caught on the mousetrap. So she looks in the closet, she sees one that's on the mousetrap, and then all of a sudden to the right of the mousetrap she sees another one not on a trap, literally just like kind of like looking at her like, and then all of a sudden like he just kind of like turns and like walks away really slowly. And I'm like, that's so weird. So she came out and told me, and I'm like, okay, so you didn't kill it, so it's still in here, right? So we're like, okay, whatever. So we're hanging out in the living room. I'm playing some video games with my buddy Devin. She's sitting next to me on that pregnancy ball that I was talking about, the one where she bounces around on. And all of a sudden on the like the step, the doorway, in the doorway in between the living room and the laundry room in our house, all of a sudden she's like, and I'm in the middle of a game with my buddy Devin, and all of a sudden she's like, John, look at this. And I'm like, what? All of a sudden I look over, and just sitting there in the doorway looking up at us was that mouse again. And he literally looked like, I'm doing this with my hands, I don't know why, like, you know, like they got those little hands or whatever, kind of creepy, but he's like looking up at us like confused and stuff, like totally like one of those moments like from a Disney movie or something like that. I was expecting the mouse to start talking to me like, my friend just died, but he didn't. But he was looking at us as if he wanted to talk, and he honestly looked really sad. And so we caught him really quick, and then it's like, okay, well, we have him caught, but he's still alive. What do we do with him? And so we decided, you know what, we're gonna let him go, but obviously we don't want to let him back into the house. And so I'm having this connection moment with this mouse. I'm like thinking this is like the coolest moment ever. Like this thing, like, is it running away from us? Is like it's trusting us? So we get him in a bag. I take a big scoop of peanut butter on a plastic fork, and then I drive him down the road, and I set him down on the ground. I open up the bag, and I throw the thing of peanut butter in there, and instantly he just starts going to town on the peanut butter. So long story short, we didn't kill the mouse. But I was thinking, as I was telling this story and thinking about it later on, like, for me, this was, like, the coolest thing ever, because I'm thinking, like, oh, this tiny little creature and I are, like, having this moment where, like, it could have ran away, and I could have killed it. You know what I mean? But then I started thinking, you know, because I was telling this story to my buddy Josh Herkel. I'm like, oh, it was so cute. It was, like, such a sweet moment or whatever. And then I thought, you know, life is really all about perspective, because I bet that mouse, if he went back and he found his little mouse buddies and they were just sitting around the campfire having some mouse time, he would have been like sitting there, yeah, and then there's this 400-pound dude, he came walking over, and his wife was sitting next to him, and she was sitting on this bouncy ball, and I don't really know what she was doing. And also, bam, they dropped this lid on top of me, slid me in a bag, drove me down the road, gave me some peanut butter. I'm like, my friend just died. You really think peanut butter is going to help with that? Anyways, I could theorize about this for a lot longer. But I think I always try to like take a funny story and turn it into something serious. And I think there's a little bit of truth with that, is like, it really is all about perspective. For me, it was like a really cute moment, but for like this mouse, maybe the mouse wasn't thinking about it. But it is true with a lot of other situations that there's two different people in that situation, two different things in that situation, and two totally different experiences. And I think when we walk through life, we always need to be remembering that just because we feel that an event went a certain way doesn't mean that the people that were on the receiving end of that or on the other end of it feel the exact same way as we do. And that's why you can go to an event and you can have two people say two totally different things. Or you can have an experience and be like, that was the best, I want to go back to that concert and do that again. And the other person's like, I thought that was the weirdest thing ever. I'm never going to do that again. And so I think it's important for us to remember, like, whether it's relating with people in life or connecting them and, talking to them about God and bringing them to the church. You can think your church is the coolest place ever. And at first they might be like, yeah, that place was kind of weird, but, we can continuously work to soften up their heart and to help lead them to Christ. Anyways, I'm bringing in all these different things, but I think it's true, and I think there's some sort of message behind that. So anyways, that's enough of the mouse story. Okay, so for the next thing that I want to talk about really quick is actually another really quick serious thing. And that is, I've been watching a lot of podcasts, YouTube videos, singers posting new videos, new songs. And I don't know about you guys, but I've noticed a theme here recently. And it's a theme that I think we've all noticed for a long time. So I'm not thinking that I'm discovering anything new. But it's cool to hear, like, the famous people talking about it now. Because a lot of times I've heard people like us who aren't famous talk about these kind of things. And what I'm talking about is how you can get to a certain point in your life and you can have made it so far and then realize, like, what was this all for? Because if you want $1 million for your whole life and you chase $1 million, $1 million, and you have some of the best times of your life doing that, you have some of the hardest times of your life, but you're living life, right? Because you're going through that process. And then all of a sudden you get $1 million. You sit there and you're like, okay, what's next? And it's because you were focused on $1 million for your whole life. And then all of a sudden you get there and you're like, well, what do I do with this $1 million now that I got here? I was listening to a podcast yesterday and some influencers were talking about how that story of the football player, I don't remember the name, I'm not a huge football guy, but the football player who wanted to win the Super Bowl, and then he won the Super Bowl, and he was sitting in his room after winning the Super Bowl in his hotel, and he was like all by himself, and he's like, what do I do now? And I think that's so true. I think that's so important for us to realize, no matter what stage that we're at in life, that if all we're doing is focusing on that next, like, big thing that, like, seems unachievable, and then all of a sudden we get there and we don't, like, know what's next, if we don't have our identity in something else, then you literally will have an identity crisis. And then I heard them talking a lot about how they've been reading that the thing that helps people that get success get to a point where like, even if they get that success, that they don't feel like they're having an identity crisis, is when you get to a certain spot in your life, then you start focusing on how you can help people get to that same level, so that you're not isolated on this little island of, like, I'm the quadrillion billionaire, right? Well, that sounds like a pretty lonely place if you're the only person that has that much money in the world. But if you can help other people build companies, invest in them, do something like that, and then you can help other people get there and help them, then that helps you have that sense of, like, drive again, and that sense of purpose. And then to, I think ultimately what it really comes down to is having a relationship with the Lord, because my relationship with the Lord allows me to be broke and still feel like I'm living my best life. And my relationship with the Lord allows me to be, like, rich and still feel purpose and drive and know what my purpose is, because my identity isn't in my money, it isn't in myself, but it isn't in the car that I drive. It's in my relationship with the Lord, and he never changes. He's so good through and through, no matter what we're going through. And so it's crazy. You listen to these podcasts and you want to grab these people and be like, man, listen, I know the answer to the problem. I know the answer to the situation that you're going through. And if you would just pause and you would just ask Jesus into your life and ask him to help you, those things would be better. Life doesn't become easier when you become a Christian, but I can tell you this, that it becomes a lot more manageable, a lot more doable, and it becomes a lot less confusing, and you're going to have a lot less, I think, identity crises. You're going to have a lot less, like, feeling lack of purpose and lack of drive, because there's always something in the kingdom of God that you can be doing. You can always be loving people. You can always be reading your Bible. You can be praying. You can be going out and helping other people and doing things. And so whether you're poor or whether you're rich or whether you're somewhere in between, there's always something for you to do in the kingdom of God. But God is never going to say, oh, you're not doing enough. God wants to use you right where you're at, right? So God isn't going to be that kind of guy who's going to be like, oh, you're not doing good enough, or you're doing too, like, he's gonna use you right where you're at. And if you stay in that balance with him, like I was talking about this last week. And so let's try not to get too carried away. Let's try to not focus on things that the Lord doesn't want us focusing on. I think that's something that I need to remind myself of. Even doing this podcast, I'm excited to do it, but it's like, okay, what's my purpose for doing it? And that's why I'm taking these times to talk about what the Lord is teaching me. I want to make you guys laugh, but I also want to help you guys think, because I think this makes me better as a person to be able to talk about this stuff, and I hope that I can help stir up thoughts in your guys' own heads. And so thank you guys for listening to me talking about that. Make sure that you stay focused on Christ, so that no matter where you're at in life, that you're always doing what he has for you, because his best is the best, and I think that's something that we all need to live by. Okay, I got a couple more things I want to share with you guys, and then we're going to end the podcast. The second to last thing that I want to talk about today is this. My youth pastor, Corey Kalinowski, just dropped another vlog on his YouTube channel. And I just wanted to say it really quick. Before I recorded this podcast, I was going on my Facebook to check my comments on my Facebook post to see like if anybody gave me any ideas for things to talk about. And the first thing that popped up was Corey saying like, hey, just posted a new YouTube video just showing you guys like what we've been up to here recently. And Corey's the guy, for those of you guys who maybe aren't as like familiar like with my circle of people, Corey's the guy that I was talking about in the first podcast that was crushing my Cheetos. But truth be told, I really actually love the guy a ton. And so he posted up the YouTube video, like a vlog of him and his family. They have a farm, and it was just so fun to watch. I love him. I love his family, his wife, his kids. They're seriously so amazing. Like his extended family. I've gotten to know them over the last 10 years, and they're like the best of people. And when you watch this video, it'll make you laugh. It'll make you want to maybe even shed a little tear. And it's just so fun to see like what they're doing. So anyways, his YouTube channel is called Kalinowski Adventures, if you guys want to check him out. I think he posts great videos. And one thing I would say to speak to Corey's character and Katie's character is this: when you watch a video like that and you see him with his family, and you think, man, that looks super awesome. They look like super happy, and it's because they are. But what I would say to their character too is this, is that I've been with Corey and Katie when the kids have been crying. I've been with Corey and Katie in different seasons of life when like there's a lot of things going on around them that are crazy, and their character remains the same no matter what's going on in life. And I'm not trying to put them on this pedestal to say that they're the most perfect people in the world, because like that's nobody. Nobody's the most perfect person in the world. But what I can say is this, and I think it goes back to what I was just saying about like just asking God to use you where you're at, is they have remained true, they have remained loyal, they have remained like steady. They've stayed in the promises of what the Lord has given them. They haven't tried to do too much and tried to like overextend like what the Lord's telling them to do. And they're not lazy people either. They work hard for what they have. And I would say when I look at their kids and how much their kids love them, it's like, wow, that's something unique and that's something special. But I tell you what, to have a family like that, to have a life like that, it takes hard work every single day. Because although there are those videos, if you were to go and ask Corey and Katie, I'm sure that they would tell you that there's been some hard days. Not like in a way where it's like, man, I wouldn't want this. But like, there's going to be days where you have to put on your big boy or your big girl pants on, and you have to keep grinding. You have to keep doing the things that the Lord's telling you to do, and you have to remain like in those promises that he's given you. And so if he's blessed you with a family, you got to realize that there's going to be some days where the kids are crying all day long and you just want to give up. And guess what? You might have a moment in that day where you do something wrong, but you know what? You come back, you apologize to the Lord, you apologize to your kids, and you keep going. And I'm saying this because I've gained this wisdom from Corey and Katie. And I'm so thankful for them to be running the race ahead of me and be showing me the way. And I don't know why I'm saying all this stuff, but it's to give credit to people in my life that have invested in me. When I was a youth student, Corey and Katie would take me in to their house on Wednesday nights every night, like after youth group, and they would let me stay, and they were newlyweds, and they would let me sleep in their house and sleep over, and I would wake up and Katie would be making Corey and I breakfast, and I felt so blessed and so loved by them. And so to now see them as parents investing and loving on their kids, we look at those videos and it's like, man, those are so awesome, so special. And that's how their home is always. It's not a highlight reel. It's not this, because I know that even those moments where it looks like the kids are constantly laughing, there's other times too, but Corey and Katie's character remains the same. And then again, I just got to point to God and say that the reason that Corey and Katie's character can stay the same throughout all these situations is because they have a God who loves them so much and has called them to love their kids, to love their family, to love their friends, to love their youth students and youth leaders. And when you have a God who loves you that much, it becomes a whole lot easier to love all those other people in your life like that. And so again, I'm not trying to put them on a pedestal and say that they're the most perfect people. I hope nobody's hearing me say that. But what I am saying is this, is that they're solid people and that they have great character. And I know that they've probably made mistakes in their life. But I tell you what, every time I'm in that house, I feel blessed by the way that they lead their home together as a husband and wife. And then most of all, let the Lord lead them. Okay, I got one more story and then we're going to be done. I feel like today has been a little bit more of like serious stories, which wasn't necessarily my intention. But then again, this is the kind of stuff that I love to do. This is the kind of stuff that gets me fired up. And this is the stuff that I had in my notes that I wanted to talk to you guys about. And so I thank you guys for listening. I really hope that you gained something from this week. And so my last story is this, because I told you guys I was going to talk about it, and it's the Spider-Man story. So if you guys don't remember, I talked about how my wife had the spidey senses and caught the volleyball right as it was about to hit her in the face. And I don't know why, but my whole life I've thought Spider-Man was probably the coolest superhero, because to me he seemed like the superhero that was like the most realistic. Like he was just some kid, doing his life, doesn't come from like a wealthy family. Like he's honestly like out here grinding, like just smart kid, right? And then all of a sudden he gets bit by a spider and he gets all these powers, and he's like the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, right? And he's just doing his thing, like saving the city. And I always thought he was so cool, and I always wanted to be him. Okay, I'm just gonna get it out there. And to be honest, I still would think it would be cool to have Spidey powers, but hey, I feel very blessed where I'm at right now, and I know I'm probably not going to get Spidey powers. But anyways, so as a kid, I remember wanting to be Spider-Man so bad, and like I would dream about it. I'd pray before I go to bed, Lord, I pray that I would have a dream tonight of me swinging through New York City. I was like so like, man, I loved Spider-Man. And so, but I remember as a kid when I would pray, and this isn't to like insult me as a kid, because I didn't know any better as a kid, right? Like this was just me like in an early stage. But I've learned from like the old me, like as a kid, because like I could still find myself doing this today, and now that I know more. And so I have to constantly be correct, or not constantly, but I need to remind myself of this. And so my prayers would look like something like this. It'd be like, dear God, I pray that when I pray that you would give me Spidey powers, and then I pray that I would have all this huge success as Spider-Man, and then I would save New York City, I would save the girl at the end of the movie, you know what I mean? Like I was like playing out all these situations, and I pray that all of a sudden I would have all these cameras on me, right? And everybody would be like, Spider-Man, and I would take off my mask, I would show them that it was me, and then I would be like, in that moment, finally, now that I have all the cameras on me, right? Then I would be like, oh, don't give me any of the glory. Don't give me any of like the applause. Give it to God, because I got these Spidey powers from God. And like I said, like this was me as like an 8-year-old kid. Like I didn't have any bad intentions, And if you guys have ever had a prayer like this too, I'm not saying shame on you at all. Do not feel bad. But I've learned something as I've grown older. I'm only 23, but I'm learning every day. And something that I've learned is that instead of my prayer looking like that, maybe my prayer should look, maybe my desire should be like, not that I'm going to get Spidey powers, but like I would change that now to say, no matter what happens, God, no matter what situation I'm in, no matter if I have Spidey powers or not, like every single day my life should be pointing and honoring you, and I shouldn't wait until I get this huge public platform to all of a sudden then start honoring you. I shouldn't wait for you to give me the thing that I want in order to start thanking you. I should be thanking you daily for everything, every single day, every single breath that I get to have, for my family, for my friends, for my wife, for my dog, for my baby boy that's growing in my wife's stomach. Like it should be a daily thing where my life points to and thanks Jesus for all he does, and not wait 20 years until all of a sudden I'm in the center of Times Square in front of everybody and then wait until that moment, because that's not what it's all about. He wants us to honor him with everything that we have. And that's why in this podcast I talked about, whether you're rich or you're poor, or you're somewhere in between, or you have spidey powers or you don't, or you have a really successful podcast or you don't, like, that's where this still applies to me today, is because I enjoy doing this. But when I went to start making these videos like 2 weeks ago already, it's been, which is super fun to think about that this has been 2 weeks. This is my third one already. I had to check myself and say, am I going to be the kind of guy who's like, man, I really hope that this goes well and that I end up on like everybody's YouTube channel and get millions of views? Or do I want to be the kind of guy who, whether I'm getting 10 views, 50 views, or a million views, in every single thing that I do with this and with everything else in my life, I'm honoring Christ with all that I have? And I tell you what, I want to be the kind of guy who honors him every single day. And so I would encourage you guys with that today. I don't know where you guys are at in your life. I don't know whether or not you believe in God or you don't. If you don't, I would encourage you to believe in God. That's kind of an interesting way to say that. It's kind of like hard to even say this over the camera, but like, seriously, like, if you're hearing this today and something's stirring up in your heart and you're like, man, I've never heard somebody talk about God like that before, send me a message, leave me a comment, whatever. Like, I'm not even doing this as like a publicity stunt, like leave a like, leave a comment. Like, no, this is genuine. Like, literally, like, you can message me. My name is John Barrett. If you don't know me, like, look me up on Facebook. On Instagram, I'm John Henry JB, I think. Send me a message on there if you guys want to know more about it. I would genuinely love to connect with you guys. And for those of you guys who are Christians, but you've kind of gone through some different seasons of your life, I hope that this encouraged you today. I hope this reminded you of how much the Lord loves you and how he's so delighted in you. And I pray that it encourages you today. For those of you guys who are watching this, that maybe knew God at one point in your life but have fallen off, he still loves you and he still wants to be in a relationship with you. And so, and I love you guys so much. That's why I'm making these videos. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm going to try to get this video posted tonight, actually, if I can. So maybe you'll watch this on Thanksgiving. If not, I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. Have a great time with family. Enjoy maybe some time off, and we'll see you guys next week.
We got the refuge full court trick shot. Oh my gosh! Let's go, baby!